Well, good evening, MetaFam. I hope you're having a wonderful night. It is Monday, August 22nd, and it's 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream literally 12 hours ago with the DCTV group. It's always good to have those guys showing up every day, talking about the news. And they talked about some really interesting stuff, from crypto regulation to BlackRock to some ideas around raising money in this tough time. But there was a good question. There was a good question that was posited by the community, and I wanted to talk about this when it comes to arguments for and against crypto regulation and my stance on it. I think in the past I haven't been abundantly clear on my stance on regulation. I think regulation is a good thing. So let's get this out of the way, and so that people now that might dismay some people that I'm for crypto regulation, but I think there's three good reasons for doing so, and I want to cover those now. First and foremost, the number one reason why regulation for cryptocurrency is a good thing, is stability in the market. Now, we also have to understand the context of Bitcoin and this technology startup. And one of the things that I talk to a lot with investors about is to stop looking at. There's a couple abstractions of wrongness, I guess, around cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. First and foremost, a lot of people look at Bitcoin as a store of value. Not really. People look at it as a currency. Not really. People look at it as an asset. Closer, yes, it is an asset. According to 2014, the IRS deeming it as property, so therefore it is an asset, according to the IRS. But if we abstract even farther away from that, what is Bitcoin truly? It's not a monetary policy. It's not a monetary asset. It's not a store of value. It's not a transfer of value. It's not a currency. So then what Bitcoin best is Bitcoin is a technology startup. And actually, quite frankly, Bitcoin is the most successful technology startup that we have ever seen, growing faster in scale, usage, new users than any other startup out there. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchatteroos, it doesn't matter. Nothing has beaten Bitcoin. Bitcoin is growing faster as a technology than anything else in the world. And so if you look at Bitcoin as a technology startup that is acquiring users and growing in usefulness and having engineers build around it, what regulation does is bring stability to all of that. Because if you look at it as a technology startup if you harken back to the .com era, when everything was exploding and everything was growing and everything was crazy and so much money was being dumped into these crappy startups and these technology startups, right? Regulation needed to happen after the .com crash, right? We learned some things. We have been up and down with the Bitcoin cycle now for over a decade. We've now going through the fourth major cycle of sorts, and we've learned some things with this technology. And so what does regulation do? It gives stability to the overall market understanding of what this technology can do and how it can be leveraged. Right now, everyone's looking at cryptocurrency, this apparatus around Bitcoin, and saying, what's going on? What's going on? Well, let's go back to first principles. All the cryptocurrencies around Bitcoin are merely experiments. They're merely hypotheses. They're merely just startups that have grown out of this core technology, this core startup called Bitcoin. And so we need to have a shared understanding of how to use this technology appropriately, how to ensure it doesn't do harm and does mostly good. And that leads me into my second point of why cryptocurrency regulation is a good thing. It's to increase investor protection and investor confidence, right? There is so much money waiting on the sidelines but cannot, due to the already existing constraints, legislation, regulatory frameworks, audit and compliance considered issues, right? There's so much money that is locked away on the sidelines because of the already substantiated institutions and institutional constraints and toll gating that has been created in our financial system that allows entities and institutions to play with money. And so BlackRock is a great example of this. I called this out. Like, once this happened, I've made multiple videos on this. Please, I don't mind putting a stake in the mud because I've seen this. I've been in this for over a decade. What BlackRock is doing is very similar to what Grayscale has done, right? So BlackRock, the largest asset, most amount of assets under management in the world. They basically run the world. So they're opening up a private trust that will allow for their investors and their networks to be able to have exposure to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. This is merely just a couple hop, skips, and a jump away from having that private trust essentially have regulatory oversight and rules around it that will allow it to become like an ETF, essentially. And so therefore, the largest asset manager on the planet will now be giving the entire institutional world access and exposure to cryptocurrency. And so this is an amazing thing. But regulation has to come first, right? There's no way that these asset managers, these institutional investors, these high net worth individuals, right? These entities that serve a larger network of funding. There's no way that they're going to get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency if there's regulatory gray areas that could screw them of the potential value and the revenue generation that they could get. And so we need this institutional money to play in this game. We need, and the reason is because this institutional money, right? The institutional money will serve itself. Fair enough. Peace. Table stakes. We understand that, right? The bankers are out for themselves. Peace. We get it. However, a lot of this institutional money will flow into great operators, great startups, great ideas, not just bullshit NFTs, right? And none of that nonsense, right? It'll actually flow into enterprise-grade applications, enterprise-grade solutions, especially for scale, especially for transaction fees, speed of transactions, concurrency, right? A lot of the technological constraints that we've solved in the traditional tech stack world are going to continue to be solved in the decentralized world, and that we need investor protections and investor confidence so that these guys can play and dump a lot of money into this right now, which is ridiculously small, cryptocurrency market. So, people might get their underwear in a wad saying, well, where's the money coming from? It's coming from, what do you know? What do you know? If the money's green and the money is going towards Bitcoin, this is a huge win for everyone. Right? These inflows of money, we need this. And so, number one, regulatory oversight is good for stability in the market so that we can all have a shared understanding of what the hell this thing is. Number two, it's to increase investor protection and investor confidence. And number three, it's to make cryptocurrency overall safer. Right? You guys are highly biased. You guys already have your stripes. Okay, you guys have enough experience in the cryptocurrency world. Some of you guys might be green beans, but the vast majority of the world are a bunch of green beans. They don't know about cryptocurrency. They don't understand this technology. They don't understand how to get in. And in the world, the cryptocurrency world is still rife with amazing amounts of scams. And so we still need to make crypto safer. Now, are there many amazing operators that are working in the world and are creating education like MetaFi, like DCTV? That's one of the reasons why we're here, is to educate and grow. That's where we've started ever since we started this game back in 16, 17, right? And so there's a lot that's being grown in the educational world. There's new podcasts, new educational modules. There's better workshops. There's better tutorials and guides, readmes. There's Reddit. There's all sorts of great resources out there. Influencers, and it's not always great, but right, there's so much information out there. But there still needs to be better information, and information, even if it's repeated, even if you do simple introductions to Bitcoin, it still has a multi-million person audience waiting. And so cryptocurrency needs to be safer, and crypto regulation will help with that. Now, you might say, well, so there's just cases against this, right? So we've talked about three, right? Say regulation for cryptocurrency is a win because it makes crypto safer. It increases protection and investor confidence and increases stability in the market. These are like core, fundamental tenets and pillars that are required for this financial market to exist, right? We're still flailing here a little bit. So now I can make up probably a good three other reasons why crypto regulation is bad, but I think a lot of them don't hold a lot of weight because you cannot work in a clean world. You cannot work in a perfectly pressurized container of where every option is completely available to you. It's just, we don't live in this world. We live in a constrained financial world. We live in a just dysfunctional financial world, dysfunctional processes, dysfunctional systems all over. And we have to work within those systems that currently exist so that we can survive this Bitcoin, survive the growth of this particular market. And so a lot of people might want to comment. You can comment below if you disagree with my ideas around crypto regulation. But again, to be overly extreme and say crypto, zero crypto, come on, get out of town. It's not going to work. Let's be at least a little bit of pragmatic realists here. And so crypto regulation is a good thing. And frankly, the sooner that we have good regulatory oversight, good regulatory boundaries, frameworks, rules to engage with, the right understanding of how to, that's going to be a win because we're going to be able to execute, again, especially for people like us, operators in the cryptocurrency space, we're going to be able to execute relatively quickly against these new regulatory frameworks that come out. So this is a win. And by the way, we're actually working. Let it be known, we're working with, let's just say, individuals that are helping move the right legislative reform so that crypto can be adopted better and adopted faster. So we're doing the hard work, my friends. We're doing the hard work. For those out you, Robert James, you're back. DigiWrench, looking good. I've always been back. You guys just haven't been paying attention. I'll see you in Discord.